Watched this mind-opening, mind-bending, and visual stunner itself, Journeys. Everybody give one more round of applause to our filmmakers. Thank you so much. Are you gonna do the interview?
No, sorry, I'm one of the producers as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is so fantastic. I'm so excited. Please introduce yourselves.
Yeah. I'm Devin Brooke. I'm one of the co-producers for this project. I also did a lot of art department and some of the fun, weird art that you saw on screen.
Oh, yes.
And like a lot of indie films, we all wore too many hats. I'm Christopher James Cramer. I directed, I produced, I edited. There's a few other things in there, but we don't need to go down that list.
I am so happy to have you guys here, and I have a list of questions. I want to remind everybody right now, start thinking about yours, because I am going to turn it over to you so that we can talk about this chock full of information film, information and emotions, to be completely honest with you. So I want to start off by congratulating you, because you guys won the Programmer's Prize for Exceptional Filmmaking. Congratulations, very well deserved.
Thank you.
So the first question I have to ask, I do have to go back to the beginning of everything for you guys. We have heard kind of like, we got a speckling of some of the history, history going all the way back to indigenous times, learning how this has been used, but also of the criminalization itself. But I want to learn about what your origin story is for yourselves. Like, what was the entry point for you guys to want to make this film?
To start, I didn't want to make this film.
Okay.
If I'm just being honest. This film was a project that kind of tracked us down. Over the course of the last 10 years, I've had many people recommend that we take on this subject, and I kind of always said no. I didn't want to be the mushroom guy. It's a very polarizing subject. It's something that I didn't necessarily want to go down this road. And then 3 years ago, I was at a friend's baby shower, and my friend's mother walked up to us and talked about her psilocybin journey, and she is the heroic dose patient that's in this documentary. And she came up to us and was like, I just went through psilocybin therapy. I was sexually assaulted when I was a child. I dealt with it for 40 years. She talked about all of the therapy that she had gone through, from cognitive-based therapy through somatic therapy, and all of these different practices, how she didn't tell her husband about it until they were married for 7 years, and this giant journey that she went on in the middle of this baby shower. And she's like, I just did a psilocybin session, and for the first time ever, I'm able to talk about it and put it behind me. And she wanted to do a test interview. She set up the test interview. She was her and her facilitator. And it took us even a year for me to really agree to that test interview. And I left the test interview, immediately called Devin and was like, hey, I think I have this project we have to work on for the next 2 years.
Devin, can we talk about how you came as part of, obviously he just said so, but I want to hear kind of like what your opening, your first impression was of this project and what it could become.
Yeah, I mean, with documentary filmmaking, you figure it out a lot as you go. Like, we didn't really know exactly what we were getting into, and as Chris said, he had many friends being like, I think you should do a documentary on mushrooms, but it's just such a vast topic, and he went, I don't know what that means. Like, what about mushroom? Like, it's so much stuff you could talk about for so long. And so when he did the test interview and he was like, this is the in and this is healing. And it was also really good, lucky timing, because it's still in the legal gray spaces in a lot of places, but we were able to find people in the above ground and who were in states where they were able to practice it legally and kind of be at the forefront of this conversation. So that was also very fortunate. A lot of this timing was just very fortunate in what happened. Even the test interview he shot, he took my car and I listened to NPR, and he does not. I'm a big nerd and listen to podcasts and stuff. And NPR was playing on my car that he drove down on 420, and they were interviewing Michael Pollan about mushrooms and psychedelics. So it was like a little preparation for him driving down. So it was just, we like didn't know what we were getting into. We were able to find conventions and got lucky with people who we were able to talk to early, and everybody from this community that we spoke to, they were all so knowledgeable and so beautiful, and once they met us and trusted us, which we were very honored to be given their trust and their stories, they're like, oh, you need to talk to this person. So all of these people were really recommending their best people. They're like, oh, you need to talk to her. Oh, okay, you need to talk to this facility. And so we got very lucky in that the community, who was, again, bravely and so beautifully sharing their stories with us, also helped us find more people. So they were really our huge resource.
Fantastic. I'm going to talk to you, Christopher, about something that you are very knowledgeable of, you are very experienced with, and that is cinematography. I mean, that is your bread and butter, isn't it? You have so many credits, so many wonderful credits in narrative cinematography. But this one you had to kind of construct from the bottom. You got to create these visuals and pick them and source them and really figure out what was going to be illustrating psilocybin. So I guess my first question is, if you can pick your favorite child, what's one of the most successful executions in your mind, one of your favorite when it comes to the visuals, the supplemental visuals that we had during this documentary?
I'd have to say it's the mushroom photography itself.
Yeah.
It wasn't originally part of our plan to do mushroom photography. We were in one of our interviews, and the interviewee was talking about other psilocybin documentaries, and they were like, sometimes when they talk about psilocybin, they're showing shiitake mushrooms because it's all stock footage.
Ah, I see.
And he was saying that while looking at me, and I'm like, this guy's kind of calling me out.
Okay.
And right after that interview, I started taking classes to figure out how to grow it so that we could do our own photography. And
Wow.
we spent, during the edit, we had grows set up in spaces that we were able to capture photography of while it was growing, while we were editing, so that all of the mushroom photography you see, everything you saw on screen was real. There's no AI, there's no CGI. We made every image for this production. There's no stock footage.
Yeah.
So minus on the technicality of the old drug PSAs, that's obviously stock footage. But that's the only thing in the film that's stock footage. So we made up all that.
I mean, he also got very emotionally attached to the mushrooms.
Oh.
It was an emotional journey and a huge undertaking on a technical level too. Having to figure out how to film those grow was a technical challenge.
Well, filming them, I killed a few mushrooms because it's like film lights on top of the mushrooms, and I had to figure
Wow.
out different ways to do things so that we could capture the photography and have a grow that looked like a grow. So
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to the audience just so I make sure to get some audience questions. But I certainly have more if we're okay. Go ahead, David.
So of all the different psychedelics out there, why did you choose to focus on psilocybin?
He asked, of all the different psychedelics out there, why did we choose to focus on psilocybin?
I think in part that psilocybin is definitely coming to the forefront in legal realms. It wasn't just an underground realm that we were able to talk to, because we were able to travel to both Oregon and Colorado for this production and talk to the people that are doing it there above ground. Whereas a lot of the other psychedelics, it was still underground. If we're talking about what's currently happening with legalization, there's a lot of research with Ibogaine, and that's kind of coming to the forefront, especially with veterans, but we still don't have any legal realms to actually interview those people. We can interview researchers, but there's no one on the ground actually doing it. Ketamine is like psychoactive, but it's not considered a psychedelic, so that was also one that I didn't necessarily want to touch at the time. There's the potential that we will take on ayahuasca in the future. I think if we were to do another documentary in this space, it would probably be on ayahuasca, as there's a lot of really good stories in that realm and in that space as well. But if we're talking about the realities of making a film on a budget, psilocybin we could actually take on in the US in a micro-budget territory. Ayahuasca we would not be able to take on in a micro-budget territory, only because it's not as practiced here. The stories aren't here. They don't belong as well here. It's an international thing. So when it came down to the practicalities of the stories that we could tell, we decided to hone in specifically on psilocybin.
Yeah, and I think psilocybin is also the one that's sort of the one that's coming to the forefront of the conversation right now too. So we were just kind of following the conversation thread.
Yeah.
Other questions? Go ahead, Grace.
I loved this film. You guys did such
Thank
a
you.
beautiful job. Like, I felt like I was watching a Netflix documentary, but a million times better. Like, it was so well done. I have a very simple question. The shot where it looked like people were underwater and the bubbles were
That was my favorite visual.
Yeah, how did you guys do that?
It's an old trick that used to exist a lot in product photography, specifically wedding rings in like the 90s, in which you take a fish tank and you fill it with carbonated water and you take photos of like wedding rings underneath water and you get the bubbles on it. And it was just, this film was an excuse to try all of the tricks that you can't normally do in narrative storytelling.
Or hadn't found a place for
Or
it.
found a place for it, and it's just like one of those old tricks. And what we did was we took a fish tank, we filled it with carbonated water, and on like game nights where friends were coming through, or if she was having a writing session with some of her friends, it'd be like, can you ask them if they want to put their face in a bubble tank for a half a day rate and be cool with that? And everybody was pretty cool. Like, they were excited to come over and do it.
Yeah, we're very lucky where this movie was made with a lot of love, not only, again, from the people we saw on screen, but also behind the scenes. We have so many creative, beautiful, artistic friends. There's 7 different composers, and like calling on all our friends for their help and assistance, but then also sometimes be like, will you just put your hand in this fish tank or put your face in this one? They're like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we got very, very lucky to have multiple communities supporting us doing this, and people who were excited to just come over and help and hang out and spend the night experimenting with weird microscope cameras. And one friend, she was like, I can hold my breath for like almost 2 minutes. And we're like, well, we only need 10 seconds. She held her breath in that tank for 2 minutes just because she was like, yeah, let's go. Like,
I was kind of sad though, because the bubble tank doesn't work with beards. It just looks like a blob of a mess on a face. You don't get like an outline, so I couldn't use my bubble tank footage.
I see.
I need to ask you about this beautiful art form that you have added to the art form of your cinematography and production of this movie. These carved boxes. Tell us about this art form of yours.
I got a laser cutter to do my own laser cut foam cases for gear first.
Cool.
And it was something that we got together, and we were then looking to do and expand, and we were doing coasters and artwork on our own. And eventually I started making multi-layer laser cut pieces, and this was originally a lantern that I made years ago to go camping, and was able to modify for the film because these little cutouts are gobos, if you're familiar with the film world.
My God.
So I can switch those out with whatever image I want. And we turned this into an art film as well, and it was just whatever we had that we could make look interesting and add it as a flavor to this film we were doing. So we repurposed a lot of things that we had around.
Yeah, even like different film experiments that we shot years ago, and it was like, I want to see if we can build this like practically and film it. I don't know what it's for. It's just kind of been living on a hard drive for years, and it's like, oh, it's gonna go in this movie. So it was fun, coming up with a lot of that stuff. Like, those are usually Halloween lanterns in our apartment during Halloween. So filmed a lot of it in our apartment.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you came to this topic from the outside, that, like you mentioned, right? So at the top of it, it says, this is not to convince you. Did your own documentary convince you to try?
Oh man. I have not tried this in this type of therapeutic space. However, we have been invited to try it because we're about to have screenings in Oregon. And we have been invited to try it in Oregon in this therapeutic space through the entire guided process. And I believe that I will probably try it while there under a facilitator. But I have yet to try it personally.
Definitely.
I'm an artist in Los Angeles, friends with Burr, so I've dabbled with like recreational use, but never like done let's put a blindfold on and take 5 grams of mushrooms and dive into that. That's a different experience, but I think making this documentary reinforced something that I feel like I felt for a long time of everyone needs some form of therapy. Like, we should all be in therapy. Healing is good for everybody, and that there's a lot of, it convinced me of the great potential for this. Again, nothing is for everybody. Everything should be done not catered, but with the advice on your knowing of your own self and with your own medical professionals and taking ownership of what that healing looks like for you. But definitely working on this documentary made me see how much potential is within this therapy if it is a good suit for a person.
Yes. It's all very tailored to every specific trauma and personality. Any other questions, guys? Yes, go ahead.
How did you get, I mean, I know you talked to people to round up the people willing to talk, but you must have had an incredible list of questions for like the veterans, or did they just come out?
Great question.
Okay. Oh, God.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. The veterans were really fun. They thought we were, they continued to make this joke even after they met us, but they thought we were narcs, so they were hard to track down. One of our producing partners, Darren Taylor, he also grew up in Washington, D.C., so he was calling people from a Washington, D.C. number, which we didn't think about until after the fact, and they thought we were narcs. But then they met us, they agreed to, give us their time and talk to us. We were able to connect with them in person. And Jack from Veteran Healing, the gentleman from Boston in the green hoodie, he was so ready to talk. He walked into the room and was just like, all right, what do you want me to talk about? And it was like, hold on, we haven't even turned on the cameras yet. We need to, you might. So a lot of people, once they were in the room, they were really eager to talk. And Chris is a really excellent interviewer. He just listens. So he had a couple of questions that he asked everybody. Hopes and fears was one of them. And he would have people introduce themselves and sort of be like, tell me who you are, tell me how you got into this space and into this healing, whatever your connection to it was, and then would really just have a conversation with them and listen to them. And there were a lot of things that were very surprising from interviews, a lot of moments we caught that were not, we didn't do pre-interviews, we tried to call people and connect with them and let them know who we were, and like we were real people and we're not the government here to arrest you or get you in trouble. But we got a lot of really beautiful moments and really surprising moments and great moments of connection, I think, because Chris conducted every interview but one that we did and really just gave space and listened to whatever somebody was wanting to share. So we weren't putting pressure on anybody. We did not want, if somebody wanted to share, our heroic dose patient, she really wanted to share her story and her trauma. Our other heroic dose patient, that was a surprise to us. We didn't know that was a story because we weren't trying to prey on people's trauma and be salacious with anyone's story.
Yeah, my approach is very conversational to these. I don't, like she said, I didn't want a ton of pre-interviews. And I found that whenever you'd sit down in a chair and just be like, what do you want to talk about? Let's follow that lead. Let's start to pull on those threads. That you got these very genuine stories from individuals, because specifically in this field, I felt like everybody had a personal connection to this that they were paying forward. Even the facilitators, while we didn't go into why they became facilitators, almost every facilitator we talked to had some type of trauma or mental health or problem that they were dealing with in the past that they were able to find guidance through psilocybin therapy, and they were looking to pay that forward, which made it so that when they sat in the chair, they were ready to talk. All I had to do was give them the platform and the space to fill, and the conversations that came out of it were really incredible and continue to affect me.
And when all the cool effects you had, like the puppet show and the mushrooms, did you do the interviews first, and in editing, then you decided whether it was something you had done in the past that you could now add this, or the lamp and the door and all that?
Yeah, all of the B-roll was added. That none of that was planned upon from the beginning. And my approach to the edit was to find overlap in conversations. So I put everybody's conversations in bins based on what they were talking about. And if two people were talking about the same thing, I found that to be the voice of the community. If it was the voice of the community, then it was worthy of going into the documentary. And then once we had all of those interviews lined up, it was like, okay, I can't just have people watch someone talk for 2 hours. That'll drive them all insane. How do we make this interesting? So we started to build out these philosophy sections. They're just little 30-second bits to bridge key topics, and we can put interesting visuals to that. Okay, but these people are talking about this segment for 8 minutes too long. It's too long for just 2 people on screen. What's some interesting B-roll that we can create to help guide an audience both through the process of watching it, but also keep them in the chair so they don't just turn it off. Otherwise, we're just a podcast.
Go ahead, in the back.
I wonder about the legalities of prescribing. So the person that would be prescribing would be a licensed MD, LCSW, or a PhD. I'm not sure. For the state of California, I'm talking about.
So we're not sure on there's a lot of weird gray space within the state of California, and every state kind of has their own rules that they're following, but MAPS is a really good resource. They're gonna have all that information and be able to do that state by state, and I believe, I should have brought my phone up with me. I didn't bring my phone up because that always feels rude, but I have this written down from a therapist in San Diego where she gave me resources for California specifically. So if you're interested in that website that she gave me, I can certainly share that with you. But there are resources, and MAPS is like the big global one, and they kind of are keeping a roster and an update of like what every state does and how that works, whether it's, what diagnosis, what kind of pre-screening that people can go through and find that help.
And we purposely kept the current legal realm out of the movie because it's even changed since we had the conversations with these people 2 years ago. New Mexico's opening up legalizations. They have completely different rules than Oregon and Colorado. In California, it's still state illegal, but there are cities that have decriminalized, and that's the whole different conversation because it's like the local police won't prosecute you, but state police still can, and federal can as well. So it's the legal space is chaotic and changing very rapidly, that we left the current legalities out of it because you do have to research based on where you're at. And here in California, it's still fairly underground as far as if you want to go to a legal facility to do psilocybin therapy. There's a lot of bills to change that. There's also clinics and like research clinics that exist kind of outside of these rules that still operate in California. UCLA has trials, but they're still figuring out how it's going to work in California.
San Francisco, Los Angeles, do you know?
Still illegal in both of those cities.
Oakland is
decriminalized, which means that you can go there, you can participate. Technically, the state could still come down on you. They're probably not going to because they've been doing it a lot there. But because that city has decriminalized, it's become a hub for people doing this therapy. But us as filmmakers will tell you that it is still not legal there.
We are so lucky that directly following this down the bar, you get to pick the brains of these guys all you want. If you do have any more questions or you think of them on the way out, I think they're gonna have to get in here to clean up the theater for a commercial movie, possibly, because we're a little bit over time. But I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy we got to talk to you and ask you all these questions. I have more. I'm gonna be asking them. Thank you guys for coming to Film Invasion LA 2026. We're so happy to have you. So grateful to be part of this amazing film festival that I weaseled my way into because I'm the biggest fan. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your night.